What are the mandatory deductions from your paycheck? And when you say mandatory, does it mean that there are also non-mandatory deductions from your paycheck? What is federal tax? What is state tax? What is FICA? What is gross pay? What is net? And did you know that there are 9 states in the USA that don't require a state tax? Do you want to know all of that? So in today's vlog, we are going to talk about your payroll deductions. Hello, this is Rebecca for PINOY Nurse Portal. So if you are interested, please stick around. All right, let's start by discussing the difference between gross pay and net pay. Gross pay basically is everything you made during a pay period, whether you are paid bi-weekly or weekly. Everything you made on that pay period is the gross pay. It should also include your holiday pay if you work on a holiday, your night differential if you work night shift, and your weekend differential if you work on a weekend. And if you work overtime, it should also include your overtime pay. Next, what is net pay? Net pay is everything you made during that pay period after all the deductions are removed from your gross pay. This is the one you will see in your bank if you have the direct deposit, or this is the one reflected from your paper check or your pay stub. Next, let's talk about the deductions. There are mandatory and non-mandatory deductions, okay? What are the mandatory deductions? These are the taxes. There are 3 types of taxes. There is a federal, there is a state, at saka meron ding Social Security Service Tax, or it sometimes says FICA or FICA in your paycheck, okay? And did you know, like I said, that there are 9 states that don't require a state tax? This is my source over here, and this was published in July 2022. And what are these 9 states? You might want to go there. Number 1 is Alaska. Number 2, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, Wyoming, Tennessee, and New Hampshire. Okay, you might want to go there. So comment down below if you are from any of these states and let me know how is it living in a state that don't require a state tax. Okay, let's go back to the main topic. So what is a federal tax? Federal tax is a tax you have to pay the federal government. They call him Uncle Sam, okay? Whether you like it or not, you have to pay your federal tax. You can choose not to pay it every month, but you have to pay it when it's due, and it's due every April 15 every year. Okay, that's the time you have to file your income tax. There is also what we call an extension. Let's say, for example, you are not ready to pay yet on April 15th. You can ask your CPA or someone preparing your tax to file an extension, but there is a charge for that. Okay, next, the next tax you have to pay is the state tax. There are 50 states in the USA, and there are only 9 of them that don't require a state tax. And those are the states we talked about earlier, okay? So whether you like it or not, you also have to pay a state tax. So how much do you have to pay? It depends on the state, and it depends on how much you want to pay per pay period. So when you apply for a job and they ask you to fill out this form, part of that form will ask you how much you want to contribute for your state tax. It could be 1.9%, 2%, 3%. There will be choices, okay? So my personal tip is that I usually pay the mid part. That way, I don't have to pay towards the end of the year. One time, I had to pay federal, both, and state tax. That was so mabigat sa bulsa, okay? So after that, I stopped doing my taxes on my own, and I opted to go to someone that's expert, which is a CPA, and from then on I never have to pay extra taxes towards the end of the year. So it's all up to you. Next tax you need to pay, whether you like it or not, is the Social Security tax, or also known as FICA or FICA. Whether you like it or not, whether you are illegal or legal immigrant, whether you have a social security number or not, if you work for an employer and you are receiving a paycheck per pay period, you have to pay 6.2% of your income to the SSS, okay? So all employee in the United States, as long as you have the social security number and you are contributing to the SSS tax, once you reach a certain age, you will receive an SSS benefit. Sana may pera pa tayo. Hopefully, SSS and the federal government still has money when we reach that certain age. So let's cross our fingers, okay? Next, let's talk about the non-mandatory deductions. I call this non-mandatory deductions because you can choose not to have this one. Let's say, for example, there are two of you working, the husband and the wife. Let's say you as a wife choose not to pay the health insurance because your husband has a better health insurance in his company. You can choose to do that, okay? But let's say, for example, your husband is not working and you want to pay for this insurance. These are the medical, the dental, and the vision, and the flex spending. So what's good about these insurances is that they are pre-tax. So what does it mean, pre-tax? So before Uncle Sam will take all the deductions to pay your taxes, okay, they will deduct all of this first, the medical, the dental, and the vision, and the spending, before they remove the taxes due during that pay period. That's why there are a lot of people who are taking advantage of the flex spending, which is the FSA and the HSA. We will talk about that later on, okay? I know I said that these deductions, the medical, dental, and vision, and flex spending are not mandatory, but I highly suggest you take this opportunity because as an employee, you will only pay certain amount. Most of it will be paid by your employer. Next question, how much do you have to pay for this insurance? Well, it depends on your status. If you are single, you pay lesser. If you are married with no kids, you pay a little more than what single people are paying, but it's still better than people with family. So if you are married with children, your insurance premium is more expensive than the two first categories, okay? But these are very important insurance that you have to avail. You don't have to pay the whole amount. You just have to pay a fraction of the premium because your employer will pay most of this insurance. So take advantage of this, okay? And like I said, if you are married and your husband or your wife has a better insurance, you have to compare them, okay? There are a lot to consider, which I promise to make another vlog about this. That way you could understand better, okay? Because I was tatanga-tanga. I made a lot of mistakes. So now it's my turn to share all these mistakes to you guys. That way you don't have to make the same mistakes I made, okay? Next, let's talk about another type of insurance, which I talked earlier, and this is the flex spending. You can either choose the FSA or the HSA. So what's the difference? FSA is owned by the company, meaning to say if you leave the company, you will not be able to take the money you deposited from this account. Whereas whereas HSA is yours, okay? You own it. So whether you stay in that company or move to a different company, you will be able to take the money you deposited in this account. You can spend it now, you can spend it later when you retire. It's all up to you. So that's the difference between FSA and HSA. Although they are not mandatory, but I want you to take advantage of this one because it is pre-tax. So when can you use this flex spending account? Okay, let's say for example, whether you choose the FSA or the HSA, they will give you an ATM, okay? And you can use this for all the medical, dental, and vision expenses. Let's say you go to the doctor and you have to pay the doctor a copay, which we will talk about later on. I will make a separate vlog what is copay. So you have to pay something at the doctor's office. You could use your ATM, your FSA or HSA ATM to pay for that. Let's say you have to buy prescription medication, you can use that money. Let's say you need to have a cast, you need braces, glasses, hearing aid, anything like that. You and your dependent can use that ATM, the FSA and HSA. It's kind of like a tongue twister, okay? So I hope you understood that part. And if you have any more questions, just comment down below. Next, non-mandatory deduction, and this is all up to you, but another highly suggested insurance that you need to take, which is your retirement benefit, okay? The most common one in the United States is the 401k. So what is a 401k? Every pay period, okay, you will contribute a certain amount. Let's say you want to contribute 2.5% of what you make, or 5%. I highly suggest contribute 5 to 10%. Wag 50% ha. True story. One of the nurses, when we first came to the United States, she contributed 50% of her paycheck. Nako, naubos na yung paycheck niya. So wala na siyang nakuha. You could always change your contribution, the amount you want to contribute, okay? So 5 to 10% is good. 10% is very, very good, okay? So what happens with 401k is, let's say you are working in a private company and you want to move to a different company after your contract is done. You could carry it with you. You could roll it over to that another company. Another good thing about 401k also is that at the end of the year, depending on how good the company is making, your employer will match your money, but they don't match it 100%. It seldom happens. Usually that happens to like a really good company, and these are usually the government funded company. I'm not very good with money and I'm not an expert with this, but I know that you have to have a retirement benefit, because we will all get there. We will all retire, okay? We will get to a certain point where we can no longer turn patients and all of that stuff, and you really need money to retire. Whether you want to retire in your country or in the United States, girls, boys, you need money to enjoy your retirement. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Pinoy Nurse Portal. Once again, this is your nurse, Rebecca, saying please subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and comment down below if you have more questions for me. If I made you more confused, please comment down below. If you learned something, please comment down below. And please don't forget to share this video to your friends. Once again, this is your nurse, Rebecca, saying thank you so much, and see you on our next vlog.